Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going to talk about array methods in JavaScript. As you all know, we can create arrays in JavaScript either like this. We can also use the array constructor like this. For the sake of simplicity, of course, we are going to use the shorter method. We are going to use the array literal, which is like this. So this is an array that contains two values, two string values, Ram and Sham, right? Of course, we can find out the values. We can determine the values using the indexing. That is, if I do ARR 0, I would get Ram. If I do ARR 1, of course, I will get Sham. That's the basic of arrays. Now, when we know that, let's move forward. Let's talk about some numbers. Let's have this array with five numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Now we are going to take a look at these array functions. The first four, let's begin with them. Push. If I do a numbers dot push and if I do a 6, push appends new elements to the end of the array. That is, if I do a numbers push 6, and after that, if I console log numbers, let's see what we get. One second. Okay, so we are into JavaScript. Okay, so that means we'll first have to do cd JavaScript and then node array methods. As you can see, we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Push adds element or elements to the end of the array. You can add multiple elements also, just like this. If I do again, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, and 8. Push inserts to the end. Unshift inserts to the starting or beginning of the array. So if I do, let's say, 10 and 11, this will add 10 and 11 to the beginning of the array. Let's remove this and then do console log. As you can see, 10 and 11 to the beginning, then rest of the numbers. Push inserts to the end, in unshift inserts to the beginning or to the start. When you want to remove elements, you do either a pop or a shift. So numbers dot pop. Remind you, pop does not take any argument. It removes a single element from the end of the array, or in other words, it removes the last element from the array. So numbers dot pop on this array will remove 5 and will return the rest of the array. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 is removed. That means, yes, if I do pop multiple times, you will see 4 also being removed. 1, 2, and 3. So pop, while it removes from the end of the array, numbers dot shift removes one element from the beginning of the array. This will remove the 1 and return the rest of the array. That will be 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like this. Yes, just like pop, you can use shift multiple times as well if you want to remove multiple elements. This is how you can basically use, this is the basic use of push, pop, shift, and unshift. However, how questions are asked in the interviews? Let me show you that as well. Let's have an array again. Let's have something like this. Now we just saw, what will this do? This will push 12 to the last of the array. And if I console log num now, you will get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. However, if I do this, if we console log the push operation itself, what will this give you? This will give you 6, or the new length of the array. Length of the array after inserting the number 6 to the end of the array. So, and that is written in the definition itself. Appends new element to the end of the array and returns the new length. Push and unshift both will give you the new length. My point is, if I do something like this, let's say if I do this, this will give you 7. Let me also show you. As you can see, push and unshift, what do they return? They return the new length. Similarly, pop and shift, what do these return? If I do num.pop and if I console log, if I print that, pop removes the last element and returns that element. That means if I console log this, it will give me 10. As you can very well see. This will give you 2. That is, removes the first element and returns it. So we talked about 4 functions: push, pop, shift, and unshift. Let's also talk about splice. So we have an array with 3 numbers, 2, 4, and 6. Splice is called kind of an all-rounder that can perform the actions of all the 4 previous functions: push, pop, shift, unshift. It can also do what the 4 cannot. Let me show you. Because the splice function can do so many tasks, it takes more arguments. Splice. The first argument is a number, that is the starting position or the starting index in the array, from where you want to start any operation. Mind you, this is the index. If I do 0, that would mean that I want modifications in this array from the 0th position. If I write 1, that would mean I want modifications from this position. And if I write 2 here, if I write the start index as 2, that would mean from here I would want any modifications. So let's say if we write 1. Second, next comes the delete count. Again a number. What it says? Starting at this index, how many elements do you want to remove? If I write 1 comma 1 here, that would mean that I want to start at index 1. Starting from here, I want to delete 1 element. That means this 4 will be deleted. If I do this, after that, if I console log num, you will see what will happen. Now the array becomes 2 and 6. If I do 1 comma 2, the array will remain only at 2. That is, starting at 1 index, remove 2 elements. Splice, however, can take 3 arguments as well. The third argument, or any argument after the second one, means the elements to insert. Let's say if I do 8 comma 10. Now this would mean start at the first index, remove 2 elements from there, and at that place add 2 elements. So this should give you 2, and then 8 and 10. Just like this. Now I want you think in your mind the answer when I write something like this. What do you think the answer to this will be? I'm sure you have thought of the answer. Let's check whether your answer matches or not. So this is the answer. What are we saying here? We are saying start at the zero index, that is the start of the array. Do not delete any element, just insert 5 and 6. So what has happened? 5, 6, 2, 4, 6. That is the array. I hope you got that right. Well, just like we talked about the return values of previous four functions, let's also talk about the return value of splice. Splice removes element from the array and, if necessary, inserts new element, returning the deleted elements. Splice returns an array, and in that array, you find the elements that were deleted from the original array. So if I console log this, you will get an array with the element 4. Let's see. Why 4? Because 4 was deleted from this array. You will now get an array containing elements 4 and 6. It does not matter whether you add any elements or not. Splice will always give you an array with the deleted elements. If I add maybe some elements, let's say, well, the answer will still be the same. 4 and 6. That's spliceful. Splice, a similar function is slice, similar in name, that is. Just like slice in strings, with arrays, slice also extracts some values from the array, returning them in a new array. My point is, if we have an array like this, let's say like this, if I do num dot slice, just like slice in string, it will take two arguments, two numbers, that is the start position and the end position of in the array. Let's say if I do 2, comma 6, if I console it out, let's say what this will give us. As you can see, we are getting an array with the element 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, what does it mean? It meant that start at the second index. So this is 0 index, this is 1, and this is 2. Start at the second index, continue till the sixth index. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But just like with strings, the last element is omitted. So this is what you get. That's slice for you. And yes, just like slice with strings, here also the function slice can take negative arguments. And yes, if you have negative arguments, well, the counting will be from the end of the array instead of the start. Let's also talk about join and toStrings. These functions are often referred to in the same breath. Both of these functions have the same purpose of converting an array into a string. Let's say if I do num.toString. Now the toString the toString function does not accept any argument. So if I do this, if I console it out, or maybe if I put it in a variable and I print that, sorry, so we should str, what you will get. Mind you, this is not an array. This is a string. If it would have been an array, you would have get the square brackets. If I do a type of this, you will not get an object, rather an string. Just like this. ToString returns a string representation of the array. While ToString does not accept any argument. And with the toString, as you just saw, you will get commas between the elements of the array. There are times when we do not want comma, we want, let's say, spaces, or we want some other characters between the values of the array instead of the comma. In those cases, we use join. You can also have join without the arguments. You can also use the function without arguments. In that case, you will get exactly the same answer as toString. That is, you will get comma between the array values. The difference with join is if you do not want comma, let's say if you wanted space, you can pass that as an argument. Now you will get spaces in between if you want something else. Just pass that as the separator, or rather the glue. It will be called a glue here. So the difference between toString and join, toString does not accept arguments. In toString, you always get comma as the glue. In join, you can specify what you want, which character you want between the array elements. We also have a function called flat. Now, flat is used with nested arrays or two-dimensional arrays. What exactly are two-dimensional arrays, if you ask? Well, let me tell you. Let's have a 2D array. Well, in simple terms, an array inside an array is a 2D array. Let me show you. This is a 2D array. If you print it out, you will get something like this. If you print out its length, you will not get 6, rather 5, because this is a single element. Now, array flat is used to flat out a 2D array, that is, to convert a 2D array into a single level of array. Let me show you. Sorry, you, you don't use array flat like that. You simply use it just like this. It takes an optional argument depth. First, let's use it without that. Let's see what is the output. Flat converted the 2D array into a one-dimensional array. Okay. Flat also has an argument called depth, a optional argument, which is by default set to 1. Depth specifies how deep do you want to go inside the array and how deep you want to convert the nesting. That is, well, our example was only one level deep. You can have array inside arrays of arrays. My point is, you can have something like this as well. Well, this now becomes a 3D array. You have an array inside of an array inside of an array. If I use flat just like this without any argument, that is with the depth being at 1, what will we get? As you can see, we still have an array remaining. If I, however, do something like this, you can now see it converted the array, the whole array, it recursively traversed through the array and flattened out everything. That's how flat works. Let me tell you, this is not an exhaustive list. There are some other functions as well. What we looked at are the most important functions of arrays that we work with. Next up, we're going to talk about some higher order functions. That's it for this video. Thank you.